embattled Chancellor Rachel Reeves breaking down in tears at PMQs today after Starmer refused to back her.
And may I take this opportunity to thank our outstanding British Transport Police for everything that they do to support staff and passengers. Mr. Speaker, we put in place the most significant funding for farmers in the budget. We've got a roadmap for work for farmers that we're working on, and of course where they fail to actually spend.
Now look, it's never nice seeing a woman cry, is it? But I don't intend to be patronising today. And given the be kind lefty lovies were all firmly behind Starmer, it's astonishing to me that they have no problem with the fact that this dude has a track record of treating the most important women in his life like a piece of shit and regularly bringing them to tears. Just ask Lady Victoria Starmer, his wife. Do you remember when the MSM promised that life under Slippery Starmer and his socialist incompetence, Rachel from Accounts and Rayner, was apparently going to be some sort of utopia? Labour propagandist John Sopel of the fake news agents posted, "Don't want to do the whole prophetic fallacy thing, but as Starmer drives to Downing Street, the sun comes out." What a contrast to May 22nd when Sunak launched the election campaign. Channel 4's hard left Tory hater-in-chief Christian Guru Murty actually claims things would be so straightforward that political reporting as we know it was just over. He wrote, "The challenges for political broadcasting is enormous and rather satisfying to watch. After years of personality-driven and chaotic, shallow politics coverage across much of the media, which was largely about instability, gossip, and leadership crises, we now have a government with a massive majority, widespread internal agreement, and no likelihood of massive instability anytime soon. A great environment for programs like Channel 4 News, full of policy nerds and people who prefer to argue about what ideas work than who should be the front person." Oh my God. They actually believed Slippery Starmer's hype. They are pathetic. But no one looks more foolish today than Andrew Marr, who promised this on Question Time. Can you believe that more than half of you are watching this video but not subscribed? So please do me a huge favour. Click the subscribe button now. Turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to all of our brand new Outspoken videos.
Well, a couple of sources of optimism, because I completely agree with the questionnaire. We have to be optimistic looking forward. I think just having a stable government that will be there for 5, maybe 10 years, who knows, but with sort of ordinary, down-to-earth, serious people talking like the rest of us in charge of the government, and a plan that doesn't shift very much for investment, is going to mean a wall of money coming into this country from around the world. You look at the chaos going on the continent, particularly in France. You look at the chaos likely ahead in the United States. And suddenly, for once, for the first time in many of our lives, actually Britain looks like a little haven of peace and stability. And that in itself is going to draw money into this country.
You, mate, are nothing but a propagandist, and you now look like a fool. And that, folks, is why you must never trust a word these complicit MSM Labour stooges say again. Because less than a year after those moments, this joke of a government driving the UK into the gutter both financially and culturally has collapsed. Starmer, Slippery Starmer, is no longer in charge of the government. But what's most terrifying is that Rayner Angela is. Starmer's exit from Downing Street today was indicative of how this socialist government is about to fall flat on its face, dragging the country with it. And Two Tier Keir's very public breakdown last week was actually nothing, it turns out, compared to his embattled Chancellor Rachel Reeves breaking down in tears at PMQs today after Starmer refused to back her.
And may I take this opportunity to thank our outstanding British Transport Police for everything that they do to support staff and passengers. Mr. Speaker, we put in place the most significant funding for farmers in the budget. We've got a roadmap for work for farmers that we're working on, and of course where they fail to actually spend.
Now look, it's never nice seeing a woman cry, is it? But I don't intend to be patronising today. And given the be kind lefty lovies were all firmly behind Starmer, it's astonishing to me that they have no problem with the fact that this dude has a track record of treating the most important women in his life like a piece of shit and regularly bringing them to tears. Just ask Lady Victoria Starmer, his wife, a woman who I genuinely have sympathy for. But when it comes to Starmer and Reeves, unfortunately, it's our country these two cretins are destroying, and we deserve so much better. So unlike the complicit and compliant, and let's be honest, frankly, pathetic, as I've just proven MSM, I have absolutely no problem with the uncompromising approach taken by Kemi Badenoch in PMQs, which prompted Reeves's breakdown.
Man has forgotten that his welfare bill was there to plug a black hole created by the Chancellor. Instead, they're creating new ones. They're creating new ones. She looks, Mr. Speaker, she's pointing at me. She looks absolutely miserable. Labour MPs, yeah, she looks absolutely miserable. Labour MPs, they can point as much as they like. The fact is, Labour MPs are going on the record saying that the Chancellor is toast, and the reality is that she is a human shield for his incompetence. In January, he said that she would be in post till the next election. Will she really?
Prime Minister, she certainly won't. Mr. Speaker, I have to say I'm always cheered up when she asks me questions or responds to a statement, because she always makes a complete mess of it and shows just how unserious and irrelevant they are. But she talks about the black hole. They left a £22 billion black hole in our economy, and we're clearing it up. And I'm really proud, Mr. Speaker, that in the first year of a Labour government we got free school meals, breakfast clubs, childcare, got £15 billion invested in transport in the North and the Midlands. We're cutting regulation, planning and infrastructure is pounding forward, building 1.5 million homes, the biggest investment in social and affordable housing, and of course, Mr. Speaker, the 3 trade deals. Remember the ones that they couldn't get, including the US trade deal. On Monday, those tariffs came down. That secured the jobs at JLR. That's who we care about on this side of the House.
How awful for the Chancellor that he couldn't confirm that she would stay in place. Yeah.
And that's when she started sobbing. Now, of course, Labour's liars soon tried to blame the Speaker of the House and personal issues that she wouldn't reveal publicly. And my God, the client journalists of Labour were even more pathetic. Look at this from Paul Brand of Woke ITV, who saw that and decided to post a tear just rolled down the Chancellor's cheek at PMQs as the PM refuses to answer whether or not she'll stay in her job. Hay fever or something else. And that's what Sly News did too. I'm not even joking. Just watch.
And we do not know what is going on with the Chancellor right now.
There are hay fever.
There may be personal
like
reasons. There might be private reasons. There might be conditions like hay fever. To be honest, to let you into the sausage factory, Jane, we are asking her team. We have not had a reply.
You are embarrassing yourselves. We see you. But look, after this past week, this absolutely catastrophic shit show of a government has now started to lose its biggest supporters as in the MSM, because even they realise it's over, it's done, and they are preparing for a Prime Minister Rayner. It may not happen this week, this month, or even this year, but it's going to happen. Even John Sopel of the fake news agents who I mentioned earlier now admits Starmer is in charge of a total mess. He wrote on X, "The political ineptitude and mismanagement is epic. The Whip's office, the Downing Street operation, and DWP should be hanging their head in shame, and truly disastrous for Keir Starmer and what's left of his authority. I did appreciate this reply from Baroness Foster, though, who said, "Is this really you? Never thought I'd hear you criticise a UK Labour government." And that shows you how bad things are. Because watch the fake news agent actually use the same word as me, shit, when it comes to this government in conversation with Labour MP Chris Curtis.
I'm going to put it bluntly, crudely. Are things shit?
Yeah, I think lots of things are pretty shit, and it's why you need a government with the determination to unshitify it as quickly and as radically as possible. And look, if you talk about from a polling perspective, I know what the consequences will be if we can't start to show real progress on this in the next few years. Nigel Farage could be running this country, and think about the devastating consequences of that man running this country, breaking more things than he fixes. But that's going to happen unless we can start to get more money into the pay packets of working people. We can stop those boats crossing the channel, or significantly get the numbers down. When people go and smash up their local co-op or ATM, nothing seems to happen. We need to fix that problem and the petty crime problem. People feel like their local communities are looking worse, looking more run down than they used to, and whenever you interact with a public service, it doesn't seem to work.
So
we need to show progress on those issues,
and that's how parties in opposition normally speak, isn't it? When you don't have the power.
Yeah.
But you do have the power now. Labour does have the power. So, I mean, has this year been squandered?
I don't think that's true. Look, I mean, there are lots of things we've made progress on, and we shouldn't pretend that progress is going to be quick or change comes about quickly.
Yes, Emily, mateless, client journalist, the year has been squandered. But it's far, far worse than that. Because we're divided, free speech has been taken away, the money's rushing out of the country, and the invasion is continuing. Now, can you believe that even that blithering Labour apologist idiot Matthew Stadlen has turned on the government too?
As someone who voted for this government, I have got my head in my hands at the moment, because he'd already given an interview to his...
And is it specifically, Matthew, because of the U-turns? Is it specifically because of the issue with Sue Gray or the freebies row that engulfed government?
We're coming into... Yes, we're coming up, right up to the one-year anniversary. I do not think it has been a good year for this government. It has done some good stuff. But the reason I've got my head in my hands, apart from the fact that it has been a very challenging start, and there's this sense that Labour wasn't quite ready for government, and that they were so focused on not making mistakes in the build-up to the general election and being cautious that actually they took their eye off the ball of what are they going to achieve in their first 100 days, let alone their first year. The reason I've got my head in my hands this morning is because Starmer had already given an interview to Tom Baldwin in The Observer, his biographer, in which he had U-turned on things he had said recently. So, for example, the speech on immigration, which was supposed to be a flagship speech in which he talked about a nation of strangers, or we were being at risk of becoming a nation of strangers, he's now saying he didn't mean to say that. Now, I welcome the idea that he didn't really mean to say it, or he shouldn't have said it, he regretted it. But for a Prime Minister, a few weeks after making a keynote speech, to say actually he shouldn't have said what he said, with the big headline point.
And even Bev Rigby, the political editor of Sly News, who over the weekend was trying to say how wonderful these interviews of Starmer were because we're getting to see the real man, rather than actually saying, no, the bloke's having a breakdown, has admitted it's all over, posting on X, so much for the end to chaos and sticking plaster politics. The PM faced down the party and lost. It's only going to get even harder from now as the PM, who promised to put the country first, gets pinned back by his party. So now all attention turns to Red Rayner, who proved last night that she is the one now in control. As Dan Hodges revealed, Labour rebels in the Commons tonight very clear. The person who brokered the Starmer climb down was Angela Rayner. She was the person who finally convinced him he needed to give in. On Lorraine this morning, Rayner was fooling no one.
From a human point of view, when you look at Keir Starmer, he looks tired. He looks under siege. As a person, how is he? Do you know what I mean? Because you're working with him all the time. You know, because, you know, the strains of this, he looks absolutely exhausted. And some people have said he's not going to be here after Christmas. He doesn't have the stomach for it, or he might he might be ousted. We don't know.
Do you know what? Even before I was in politics, I said that, have you ever seen a Prime Minister after a year or two in government? And people always say to me, do you want to be Prime Minister? Like, not a chance, it'll age me by 10 years within 6 months.
And it has.
It does. Anyone who's been Prime
Sure.
Minister, it is a very challenging job. And there's been, to be fair, for Keir Starmer, there's been a lot going on. He's been all around the world trying to repair the relationships in Europe.
I mean, she's not denying it. She's not even denying it. But look, the problems are only going to get worse for the disunited kingdom, whether it is Starmer who stays in charge with Rayner really running the show, or whether Rayner actually gets the top job. I mean, look at this. The invasion of terrorists, rapists, drug dealers and child traffickers, which Starmer promised to smash, is continuing at record levels. I don't even believe those numbers. Okay, that's 20,000 that we know of that the government actually agrees to publish. I actually think it's at least double that, because remember, so much of this invasion is also taking place via lorries. But as those people who want to destroy us enter, what's worse is that the wealth creators cannot leave Great Britain fast enough. As GB Politics explained, the United Kingdom is experiencing an unprecedented single-year exodus of wealth, with an estimated 16,500 high net worth individuals projected to establish residency abroad. Now, I warned for years of the risk of a Slippery Starmer government. I wasn't one of these apologists at GB News. I was saying every single night, don't do this. It's gonna be terrible. And we are now experiencing the true cost of that terrible man being in charge. I hate to tell you that using that Blair 1997 campaign song, things are only going to get much worse before they get better. Now, the Superstar panel. Delighted to be joined by the first time today by the broadcaster Curtis Hinton, and welcome back to Howard Cox, the head of Fair Fuel UK, former Reform UK mayoral candidate, now a member of Advance UK, a senior member too, and we'll talk much more about that later in the show. But Howard, to this breaking news today, it's calamitous. It's all falling apart. What did you make of those scenes of Rachel Reeves literally sobbing behind Slippery Starmer at the dispatch box? But first, if you're like me, you've spent so much time trying to find the perfect skincare treatments for your face, only to realise you're neglecting this area, right? The skin on your neck. But I have noticed, as I'm in my 40s, that is a massive oversight, because the neck is on display all the time, yet so many folk just treat it as an afterthought in their routine. But so many women in the Outspoken audience will know that the skin on your neck is thinner, more delicate and less oily than facial skin, which means it requires specialised care. That's why I was completely blown away when I received my, and oh my goodness, I love it. How beautiful is this? The Go Pure Tighten and Lift Neck Cream, a product transforming the lives and the necks of women, and I have to say, some men too, all across the globe. It's a gorgeous product. I saw a noticeable difference within just weeks, and I know that it can become a game changer for you too. And the big news is Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off Go Pure using the code DAN at checkout, D-A-N. Just head to gopurebeauty.com/Dan, use the code DAN, and you're all set. Go Pure's proprietary firming complex is designed to visibly firm and smooth the skin on your neck and your chest, actually, if you want to use it there too, in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. In a consumer study, 100% of users said their skin looked more supple, 97% noted a firmer appearance. What incredible numbers! Indeed, Go Pure's full line of science-backed skin and body care have delivered for over 100,000 real women with real results. Dermatologist recommended, cruelty-free. I know how important that is for so many of you. And with over 1 million jars sold, this beauty secret can no longer be called a secret, right? So tighten, lift, and restore elasticity in your neck, because your skincare routine shouldn't stop at your jawline. For a limited time, Outspoken viewers and listeners get that whopping discount, 25% off. You just have to use the code DAN, Dan at checkout. So head right now to gopurebeauty.com/Dan. Use the code Dan and you're all set. And after you do buy, do us a little bit of a favour. When they ask where you heard about Go Pure, tell them it was after watching Outspoken. But now, back to the show.
Well, I can't believe all the reasons coming out from the lefty papers and the people that you put out just now. And my wife and I were watching PMQs, and my wife first thing said, she's going to be sacked. and she's obviously under pressure big time. And she did, and I'm going to be kind to her because she didn't look well. And it was terrible to look at. It was actually, I think, to be honest, Keir Starmer just shows what a horrible, nasty piece of work he is. He could have easily just said, sat down with her next to her. And while questions are being asked of him, he could have just patted her and said, "You okay?" Because that's what you do with working with people closely with you. You don't have that situation. I know politics is a ruthless game, but this man has got a super majority and he's delivered multiple U-turns. And I'm afraid the person who's pulling his strings is sitting the other right-hand side of him, Angela Rayner.
Absolutely. And he is a heartless droid of a man. And while I have absolutely no sympathy for the place that Rachel from Accounts has left the country, of course it is shocking to see Starmer allowing a woman in that state to enter the debating chamber in the first place, then to sit next to him, then not a word of support. Curtis Hinton. I mean, these are extraordinary scenes. And the problem is, they can't cover this up now. I mean, we've known what's going on behind the scenes and how this is collapsing for a very long time. But this is like crossover point, right? Because those pictures are iconic for all of the wrong reasons. And everyone in the country is going to be aware that our Chancellor was breaking down in the middle of PMQs, which, by the way, sent the markets into turmoil. There's a real cost to this, Curtis.
Yeah, I think Howard said it perfectly in terms of the human element. She is in this position, God knows how. But Starmer has kind of forced this. We will blame Rachel from Accounts for a lot of it, as she is the Chancellor. But Starmer's doing nothing. He's taking no responsibility. And I fear he's actually thinks that this doesn't matter. Like you said it perfectly, Dan. This is now so public. Like my mum, who doesn't even follow politics, is going to see this on the paper tomorrow.
Yes.
But it's Starmer's way in terms of he's going to wake up tomorrow morning like nothing's happened today.
Oh, totally. Because he's a droid. This is a guy who has always had his strings pulled. He will do anything to be in power. He will say anything to be in power. So now the fact that he's being controlled by the hard left of the party just means one thing. We are going to suffer again. Howard, I know with the Fair Fuel campaign, you know what's coming. And just look at the New Statesman cover today. This shameless organisation that Andrew Marr is the political editor of. Just raise tax. He's going to have to do it, isn't he, Howard? Because at the end of the day, that's where the left of Labour is. Just tax us into bloody oblivion so more and more rich people choose to leave the country.
You're absolutely right, Ben. I mean, as you know, I've been doing this for 15 years and we've managed to freeze fuel duty in that time. And I was surprised that Rachel from Accounts in the last budget did actually kept it frozen. It was a hell of a lobbying time I had involved at that point. But she got three choices. And obviously the one is to print money, borrow money, or put up taxes. And with this situation now, I'm afraid the easiest of targets is 37 million motorists. And we are still the highest tax drivers in the world, but that won't stop her being forced into a situation now. And we've also joined the European carbon trading system, and they're talking about putting 10p up on diesel and petrol. And on top of that, there'll be a 10p fuel duty. So you're looking at 20p increase, which on an average car, 55 litres, you're looking at £11 increase fill-up costs. And you imagine what a sort of a 400 litre HGV truck's got to pay. And what's that going to do to our economy?
Oh, indeed. Well, it's a war on drivers, just like we've seen a war on workers, just like we've seen a war on the elderly. So, Howard, you're a political strategist, amongst other things. How does Angela Rayner play this now? How long does she wait? My feeling is that she waits some time. actually, because she's got Starmer and Reeves where she wants them. And she can sort of pull the strings, maneuver in the background, know that actually all of the power is now in her hands before striking at a point where she knows there's no way that she won't win.
Well, Dan, it's very simple. The point is, he's got plenty of time to wait. You know, they got to effectively till 2029. It'll be sooner than that, but she doesn't have to do anything because she played a blinder on this, the benefits bill. You know, and you know we were trying to save 5 billion. It went down to 2.5 billion. Now it's not saving anything. She's played a blinder because she's played into her left-wing MPs on the side. They are going to be backing her to the hilt because she's delivered what they wanted. And these are left-wing MPs who've never had a job. They're economically illiterate, and they want to follow some sort of icon.
Yes.
And Angela Rayner is becoming a celebrity icon for the party.
Yes.
She just needs to bide the time, Dan. You've got it spot on.
Absolutely, she's going to win. I mean, look at that softball interview, Curtis, from Lorraine this morning. Angela Rayner is playing the celebrity game. She's keeping out of all of the mess of government. She's turning herself into a star rather than a politician. It's a very clever political strategy. I've been saying for months, and people don't want to hear it, Curtis, but I have been saying for months, she is our next Prime Minister. And that is bloody terrifying. Because she's going to push us even further into a socialist hellscape, and we already run out of money.
Yeah, it's worrying. I mean, Dan, you've worked on that sort of program. You know why people go on there. They go on there to promote themselves, not to promote politics. We saw during COVID when Boris went on to ITV on This Morning and was talking about, they were on there to promote something. It wasn't anything actually in favour of the British people. And yeah, it's worrying. And the thing is, it's everyone's watching this, millions across the country who are going to be affected by this, and it's just going to get worse.
Yeah, she went on today. Lorraine has been used, actually, Lorraine Kelly and the programme has been used a lot by very divisive politicians. The example that comes to mind for me, Howard, is Nicola Sturgeon, Scheming Sturgeon, as I call her. And that programme has been used a lot to soften their image, to make them look prime ministerial, to know they're not going to get any tough questions. And the fact that Rayner chose to go on today, you know, it's like the whole government, Howard, is literally collapsing. And she swans in without a care in the world. Oh, yes, Starmer, he's looking bloody old. But, you know, I, of course, don't want that job, Lorraine. She knows what she's doing. She will be the next Prime Minister, Howard, because I've looked at these figures very, very closely. And remember, it's Labour members and it's unions who choose the next Prime Minister. It's not the wider population. And this idea that someone more moderate like Wes Streeting is going to win is for the birds. Labour has proven over the past 24 hours, Howard, that they will only go in one direction, and the direction that they are heading is to the hard left.
You're absolutely right. I mean, one of the things is there's rumours flying around. I've got on my WhatsApp here that Wes Streeting has been offered the Chancellor position. And whether that's true is who knows what it is, but rumours.
Well, that would be a poison chalice, wouldn't it? I mean, he'd actually be a fool to take that job.
Absolutely. I mean, it's ridiculous what's happening. I mean, this whole thing, and you know, watching PMQs, the usual response. You know, he never answers a question. Starmer comes back with the 22 billion black hole, and yet they're sitting on about an 80 billion black hole they've created. And I see this time and time again. And looking at Angela Rayner today, she could easily put her hand across to Rachel Reeves and just say, "Hi, you're right, love. Let's have a drink afterwards," or something. You know, just to. I think she went out, left quite quickly, Rachel, with her sister, who's also an MP, and the things that. So there's lots of rumours flying around, but I'm afraid she's in terminal decline, our Chancellor, at the moment, and they're all queuing up. And the strings, as I said earlier, are being controlled by Red Rayner.
Just wanted to share a couple of other posts from people I respect on this. Katie Hopkins wrote, "Rachel, you represent the office of the Chancellor of Great Britain. You are supposed to assert confidence in this country, not sit there like a widow who got tear gassed. Get a grip, bird. FFS." Rupert Lowe The head of Restore Britain wrote, Reeves is dangerously out of her depth. She has to go. And then the most fascinating news, and we'll be keeping very much across this, Nick Robinson announcing that tonight Keir Starmer is going to give an in-depth interview with the BBC to mark 1 year in power. And goodness gracious me, what is he going to say about Rachel Reeves? So it's collapsing, folks. It is absolutely collapsing. And at the end of the day, while I do have human sympathy for Rachel Reeves, who has clearly been pushed to the brink, what I have no sympathy for is the dire straits in which she has left our United Kingdom.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go wherever you are.